Welcome to the new edition of Resonate with Irwin Edgehill. I'm Irwin Edgehill. And backed by popular demand is our famous guest, the one and only, Dom Wier.
Thank you, Irwin.
Nice to
you always
see
know
you
to relax me with your little introductions.
I'll tell you.
Famous. It's an interesting word, isn't it, in today's society?
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I'll take it.
The previous episode that we did was absolutely phenomenal. The comments, the likes were just something that we've never experienced. And it was all down to the topic, but more importantly, it was down to you, man, in terms of how you came across, real deal and all the rest of it. So, nice one.
Yeah, it
Nice
was,
one.
for me, getting involved in this world of podcasting and putting yourself out there has been a really positive experience. I think something I want to build on as well myself.
Right.
And the feedback, like you say, the comments on YouTube, etc., being able to respond to parents and people was really holistic and felt natural to do that. And, again, raising awareness is key.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
And that's hopefully what we did, And let's hope we can continue with that and give parents and people in general the education and knowledge about this topic.
Indeed, man. So, just like before, Dom, I'm just going to ask you a few questions and then just answer them in your own inimitable way. Okay, first question, Dom. What impact does county lines have on local communities, both urban and rural, do you think?
Good question. So, the term itself, county lines, leads to the fact that it is a business model that has grown out of drug markets getting overpopulated within inner city areas and them seeking new audiences, new, punters.
Right.
And gangs realising that actually the countryside, as they call it, cunch, C-U-N-C-H, one of the terms they used to use. It's probably different now because slang changes quickly.
It does.
But that there was, viable drug markets there that could be exploited and used, and that those gangs could bring the levels of intimidation and violence that they had from the city to more rural areas where maybe the local dealers, were a bit more known by everyone on the estate. They were seen as the bit of the go-to person, and there was no violence needed really to dominate the market, and it wasn't seen in terms of a structured model. So as a result of that, initially, what came from the inner cities was like a wave of violence and levels of gangs that wasn't seen before in these areas, and that led to young people coming from the cities to sell the drugs on behalf of the gangs from the inner city. Yeah. All right. So,
but in terms of the impact on the communities, urban and rural, what would you say is the biggest impact?
Yeah, so I'd say there's several things. I've done quite a bit of research around it. Last time was a general kind of conversation. Yeah. So I've made some notes.
Cool.
What we touched on really was increased violence in those areas, fear and intimidation of the local community by the gangs, which are now, like I said, being passed on to the local gangs have copied that model basically. So local young people's levels of violence have gone up from what they might have used to be, which has a knock-on effect, in that local community.
Yeah.
It leads to more of a fear of crime. Because it's more prevalent, it's a high turnover model. Cuckooing set up pretty quickly. So cuckooing, for those who don't know, is a process of targeting vulnerable people who may have a bedsit or a flat or a house even, and the drug gangs will exploit that individual through either giving them free drugs, goods, or just dominating them physically and just taking it over basically. So just the knock-on effect of that in the local area. Yeah. It leads to further exploitation of children, vulnerable children in that area. And what's happened now we're like 10 years into it almost, we're seeing what I would call an embedded cycle of recruitment. So the local gangs have taken a bit more prominence now, and there are second generations of children that are being recruited.
Wow.
So the kids who maybe were recruited at 13, 14, 15 are now 18, 19, 20.
Right.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does indeed.
And they're now recruiting the kids who locally who are 12, 13, 14.
Right.
To do their bidding. So it's kind of, they've become self-sustainable local business models.
Right.
Using that sort of language.
Exactly. Second question, Dom. Are there any myths or misconceptions about county lines that you would like to dispel?
Yeah, so we just touched on that really, that initially, drug gangs, drug violence, or just gang violence and gangs in general was seen as an inner city problem. And that has now spread out, and as local gangs are growing up in towns, rural areas. So that's kind of a myth, I think the myth that all young people who are involved in it are the kids who are excluded from school, or the kids who are in social care, are the kids who are already offending. I think that model's changed. I think gangs realise that sometimes social services were already heavily involved with those children, so they were already on the radar, so it was easier to maybe track and see what was going on with that child.
Yeah.
Whereas children who are from normal backgrounds, normal houses, that are feeling a little bit lost, a bit alienated, are easily targeted because they want to seem cool and hang out with the cool guys, or they have the fear in school of being bullied, so they'll get under the, they're going to look after me, that kind of family gang model.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely that's probably the main myth, that it's only children who are already disengaged and at risk that are targeted.
Right.
That's changed now, the model's changed. I think the whole model of gangs sending kids on buses and trains and stuff has decreased. I think that during the pandemic and since then, the use of social media, so Instagram,
TikTok.
Discord, TikTok, WhatsApp, Snapchat, gaming platforms, kids are getting groomed online by individuals, that might be older people or might be kids, that are being forced to go online and make connections with other kids locally. And stuff like that. It means that, now the model's moving on from not just drugs, it's becoming counterfeit goods, vapes, clothing. It's
just
a criminal enterprise.
Go back a bit with the counterfeit goods and the vaping. What? So they're getting hold of all that stuff and then they're selling it?
I think as organised crime gangs, OCGs is the term we all know from the telly.
Right.
They're seeing the opportunity to expand the business beyond just drugs.
Right.
So whether that might be part of the grooming process, we're giving kids vapes, clothes, whatever, money, or whether that is actually, in the trap houses. So trap houses or a bando is where the cuckooing takes place, so the gang come in and take control of that property.
Right.
Maybe they're starting to use that more now to do other criminal activities to enhance their profit margins. That's a new thing. I think the myth that it's only teenagers that are involved in it is something that needs to be dispelled. On one hand, one of my concerns is that we're getting more young people who are called NEET now, so not in education, employment or training. Those numbers are shocking at the moment.
Right.
And the Labour government have just released a new youth guarantee scheme where they're going to say all 18 to 24-year-olds are going to have opportunities to move into work.
Right.
I'm a bit sceptical about that, I'll be honest with you.
Why are you sceptical?
Just because of the lack of power, for want of a better word, that the government have with businesses.
Right.
Certainly local businesses, small employers, self-employed people.
Yeah.
How is that going to benefit them? It's okay for big national organisations like Serco, Tesco, multinational corporations that have got the structure and the infrastructure in place to offer work placements,
right,
etc. DBS insurance. There's a lot to consider.
Yes.
I mean, again, we're already going way off topic.
No.
It's all accountable, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that actually, now we've got localised gangs that are like first generation, second generation. They're targeting younger kids locally to do the selling. And for young people, county lines is part of street culture.
Right.
It's normalised.
Right.
It's a normal.
Yeah.
It's a normal thing.
Yeah. just go back to when you were mentioning older people are involved in county lines.
Yeah.
That's come as a surprise for me.
Yeah, so where we talk about older people, a lot of that would be like vulnerable people, maybe,
right.
the cuckooing element. So maybe people who are using drugs or people with poor mental health.
Right.
Young people with special educational needs that have got independent housing.
Okay.
And things like that,
Right.
More on that side of things. And in Bournemouth recently, there's been a couple of cases where, tragically, a mum was involved in county lines and ended up, tragically,
a mother was involved. What, in terms of actually selling
from
the
what
stuff?
I understand,
right, okay.
I don't know the ins and outs,
Okay.
but I'm aware it's been quite high profile locally, where parents are getting involved in it as well as their children.
Right. Is that to protect the children, or is that because they've just got involved in it themselves?
Probably a bit of both.
Right. Okay.
Again, I haven't worked on the specific case. I don't know. That's just from conversations I've heard. I'm not into tittle tattle stuff, but
right.
Those models.
Yeah.
Where parents are getting involved to try and get their children out of it.
Right.
Maybe,
Yeah.
Children get involved, they get a debt, and then the parents have to get involved to try and get the kids out of it. I mean, I don't know if we're going to touch on it, but that play we went to watch.
Right.
That's exactly what happened in that, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
They
really
took over the mum's home.
Right.
And she took on the drug debt.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. Interesting. Next question, Dom. What role do schools, parents and local authorities play in prevention and intervention, would you say?
Yeah, so again, County Lines has come out off the back of the austerity cuts that began around 2010. So, services, community services have been slashed and depleted. I don't even think there's any youth centres in Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole anymore.
Right.
Maybe a couple, but they're very, very limited with their hours. The staff have all been cut, so that was kind of the beginning of the end, really. But now education, a decade on again, education has come into schools. All schools will roll it out. I checked a couple of local schools. They have some really good information about county lines for parents.
Brilliant.
About signs to look out for and stuff like that. We went to see Vita Nova the other day.
We did indeed.
It's just
powerful, wasn't it?
Breathtaking and emotional.
Yeah.
So they're going into schools now, but they need more funding to do it more widespread, these organisations like Vita Nova.
Right.
They go in, they deliver this incredibly powerful play about county lines and how the whole it's just brilliant, wasn't it, Irwin? Identity of young people, how young people feel, what leads to them getting groomed and how vulnerable they are.
Yeah.
Revealed it all. And then at the end of it, the people who were the actors are all people in recovery from drugs and alcohol, and some of them have been involved in county lines and been groomed themselves and exploited, right?
Yeah.
And they do a share with young people. So I think things like that where you're humanising the users, right? Last time we talked about dehumanising the people that were using the drugs.
Right, yeah.
Well, if we don't sell it to them, someone else is going to do it. They're worth fuck all anyway.
Right.
Look at them, useless drug addicts. They'll do whatever you want for it. So that dehumanisation of people. So I think the education going into schools, I think that schools are getting teachers, teaching assistants are getting more education.
Right.
Yeah, I was quite impressed by what I saw locally for our area on some of the schools' websites.
Brilliant.
I think that schools are working more. Again, this is just generic statements, not individual cases I'm commenting on here, but in general, partnership work between statutory organisations is getting better. Information sharing is getting better.
Right.
I think where you've got a shortage is things like positive activities, outreach activities for young people in sport, art, music, stuff like that outside of school. That's kind of what's missing.
Yeah.
From my point of view, and like positive role models that can work with them.
Right.
There's a lot more what's called alternative provision now as well in schools. So for children that aren't engaging in mainstream education for whatever reason, rather than that child having nothing to do, which is when they're at the most vulnerable to getting groomed.
Indeed.
There are lots of what's called alternative providers now that offer that within school time anyway offer arts programs, sports programs,
brilliant,
and things like that to engage with young people. Yeah,
is that across the country, or is that?
I would imagine it's across the country.
Right.
I can only comment on what I know locally. So I've supported a few organisations. People that I know have come to me and asked for links to schools, and because of my networking experience, I've been happy to set that stuff up and give them those links, and those companies are thriving now.
Brilliant.
Star Player, Aspire Sports, Rise, Innovate. There's quite a few provisions now that offer alternative provision for children that can't cope with mainstream education.
Right. Brilliant.
So yeah, there is stuff in place. Things are getting better and improving.
Right.
But you're never going to have perfection.
Unfortunately not.
So I'd say that, safe spaces within schools and early intervention are always key to averting young people from that.
Cool. Have you ever encountered any success stories where individuals have managed to leave county lines, Dom? That involvement, and what support helped them?
Yeah, so I don't work directly anymore with young people that may be at risk of involved in that, but I know lots of people who do, and I had a good conversation with some youth offending team workers down here, bumped into one of them on the street as you do, and had a chat with them, said, I'm doing this thing, can we have a chat? Yeah. And they were telling me, about some success stories that they'd had, and they were down to a few factors really. Was the young person was ready to leave. Is always, there's got to be a want, hasn't there? True. I think when young people are embedded and they're making the money and they're on the streets and they're getting all this respect and credibility, so they feel, it's not a problem, is it? But once it goes wrong drastically. Drastically, yeah. I think it can be very difficult for them to get out because debt bondage, threats to family, snitches get stitches, right? All those sorts of phrases and things. But with good wraparound support from people like youth offending services, social care, charities. Right. I think charities play a crucial part here. Yeah. Because a lot of parents, families, and young people are quite sceptical or dubious of social care. Or my children are going to get taken off me. Yes. Stuff like that, right? Right. Traditionally, in a lot of working class communities or council estates, people have heard stories about kids being taken off them and stuff like that. Right. And a lot of parents are trying to do their best. I truly believe that. But once your child's been groomed and caught up in this stuff, it's difficult. So I would say a mixture of, I can talk about a young person I work with who'd got into it quite deep with gangs from Albania and Liverpool. That's who he was running up and down the country from. Right. Yeah. And that led to him being caught with substances that led to him going to court. So that whole process really of the seriousness of it, if he carried on doing it. Right. But he still had drug debts. Right. Luckily, I was able to do some mentoring work with him during that period as well. Right. So to give him hope. Yeah. Yeah. And faith and courage that there are better ways. Like this lad, he had fantastic knowledge of reptiles and stuff, yeah? Right. Incredible, blew me away. But he'd been kicked out of school, because of the issues he'd had at school. Yeah. The parental home wasn't ideal, there was addiction within the family. Right. All of the tick boxes for traditional county lines risk. Right. And him, feeling amazing at making money and doing all that stuff. Yeah. But the shit had hit the fan. Right. And luckily I was able to work with him at the right time. So, mentoring was crucial, I think, part of his journey to moving away from it all. The dad was amazing, you know what I mean? He was fully behind supporting his son. Right. And getting him out of it. Yeah. So there was a lot of elements that fell into the right place at the right time for him. Yeah. And he got into fishing and stuff. So he just changed his old lifestyle. He changed the people he was with. He got some support to stop using drugs himself. Right. And he just got in touch with his humanity, right? He was like, the things I used to do to people, Dom, or people would do for a rock. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But whilst I was in it. Yeah. But it was always, it didn't feel right. Right. But I felt I couldn't escape. There's no one supporting me. So, a culmination of things gave that young person the opportunity. And now I saw him the other day, actually, which was wonderful. And he looks so healthy. He looks so happy. He's got into golf now.
Wow.
You know, but during the mentoring, I took him up to university. We went and had a look around the university. He was like, I can't fucking go there. I was like, why not? Your knowledge is amazing.
Right.
He never ended up going, but it was expanding his world, right? Expanding somebody's world.
Yeah.
Helping them feel normal about being around normal people.
Right. Yeah.
You know, for some young people that are involved in criminality in county lines, normal is hypervigilance, normal is abusing people, normal is manipulation, normal is, you know, going somewhere and being, hi, how are you? Shaking hands, looking in someone's eyes, you know, getting out your comfort zone by having a normal conversation, going and doing normal things like playing football or going fishing or whatever it is. That's like, I can't
What's
do
going
that.
on, yeah.
You know, my nerves, my anxiety, I'm stressed out, bruv, I can't.
Right.
People are going to look at me and look down on me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looking down on people.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the one who got kicked out of school. Your dad's this. You know, you use drugs. Look at the state of you. You're you're a criminal.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So normalising
Yeah.
life is very important. And it was wonderful to see him, man.
Yeah. I bet
And
it
maximum respect to him.
Yeah.
Maximum respect to him. He did a lot of work on himself to pull himself out.
Yeah. That's the key, isn't it? The key word, doing the work on yourself.
Doing the work, mate.
Yeah. That's the key, man.
Yeah.
That's the key. How is law enforcement responding to the challenge of county lines? And are there any areas where more could be done, do you think, Dom?
Yeah, so great question. So this is, sorry, where I'm going to be looking at my notes a little bit because I wanted to make do some research around it.
Cool.
So the first thing I looked at was like new developments and changes with county lines.
Right.
Because the police have been relatively effective. They had a target of closing down over 2,000 county lines across the country, which from the stats that I saw, they've achieved that.
Wow. Brilliant.
2,000, right? Now, the reality of that, as we all know with anything, is probably double that they haven't closed.
Right.
And for every line they've closed, do you think that line's going to stay closed forever?
No.
So, you know, but some work is better than no work. One of the things I noticed was really interesting to me was what the police call external county lines. So that's where people are moving across county, moving between different police forces, different areas and dealing drugs and setting up markets.
Right.
So let's say a gang from Bristol were coming to Bournemouth, setting up lines here, and that was the line. Yeah. And then they might also have lines in Cornwall, Somerset. Yeah.
Right.
So Bristol would be the hub, and then they go out to other areas. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what's called an external line.
Right.
That there's been a decline of that in 12.2% over the last 5 years, I believe.
Wow. That's good.
For internal lines, so the model we talk about where, you know, they're franchises almost, and the local dealers buy the lines, and the local gangs have taken over running it. Right. There's been an increase of 232%. Increase.
Wow.
All right. So the police have been effective at breaking the traditional model of county lines to an extent.
Right.
What's happened is, as a result of that, the local markets have, as you can see, exponentially grown in that period of time.
And what would you put that down to in terms of why it's grown?
Yeah, because the police have got things like they've got a disrupting county lines police strategy.
Okay.
That's going to run 2024 to 2027.
Right. Yeah.
They brought in new legislation and new legal tools during this time as well.
Right.
So there's new laws to criminalise the use of children in criminal activity, for example.
So what do you mean? Somebody gets caught with
so if
grooming a child to get into county lines.
So yes,
the sentence that they get is going to be more severe.
Yeah, and it's related to things like, you know, child slavery and child exploitation, not just drug dealing.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Right.
Which is a lot more severe and a lot more longer lasting on your record.
Right.
They're also bringing more severe penalties for cuckooing as well. So if people are found of, you know, dominating and using vulnerable people's addresses and homes for dealing drugs, there's different sentencing models that have been brought in for that. I can't quote these. All of this stuff, people can go and find out themselves, by the way.
Right.
You know, ChatGPT is an incredible tool if used correctly to find information.
Yeah.
It's been very helpful for me when we're delving a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Now, right.
Yeah. Right.
So I could pull all of this off there quite quickly.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so back to that same thing, really, you know, more localised work.
Yeah.
There's also something that was done in 2024, a hashtag called Likes to Lines for people to look at, and that will open up lots of information for you. So hashtag LIKESTOLINES.
Right.
There's been a lot of research done. So an organisation called Unseen went out and did some research. Again, these polls are only little snippets.
Right.
But they'd found out that 1 in 3 UK adults had no understanding or knowledge of what county lines was.
Wow.
Which is, you know, actually I thought it was going to be a higher number than that. I'm quite impressed, 1 in 3.
Right.
It's quite good for me. You know, rather than 1 in 8 or 1 in 10.
Right, yes. Yeah.
Reporting mechanisms, you know, websites, schools, social services. There's been lots of education gone out there. So in Bournemouth, for example, there's something called the MET panel.
Right.
Which stands for Missing, Exploited or Trafficked Children. So there's a panel set up to, you know, pull all that information in earlier with young people that might be involved in it.
Right.
They meet fortnightly, apparently, in Bournemouth.
Right.
And then...
And how long they've been going? Have they been going a while? Or?
A few years now.
Right.
I think pretty recent though, you know.
Yeah.
And then from in there, you've got something called the MASH, which stands for the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub. And that's made up of social workers, police, teachers, educators, come together and meet and discuss young people that are getting on their radar.
Ah, right.
All right. But parents and people can contact these websites. Locally, you can go to saferbcp.co.uk.
Right.
And there's lots of information on there. You know, I was quite impressed, Irwin.
Right. Cool.
You know, you've got obviously Dorset Police and the same with any other police force.
Yeah.
Another thing that the police have done is that they've got coordinated policing operations, what they're called now.
Right.
So they're combining partnerships between police forces across the country. They're all pooling information.
Ah, right, that's good.
You know, one of the things in a model with county lines was because it was, you know, there was a tragic case of a lad from Nottingham who lost his life, who'd been in Bournemouth for a while. He ended up getting murdered in London.
Right.
But his family from Nottingham and mum had moved away from there to escape county lines. They'd ended up going to family in London.
Right.
But the kid had been groomed again and he'd ended up in Bournemouth. And a lot of kids were falling through the gaps, I guess,
right,
of the lack of communication between different police forces and different social services. So, you know, that's why you've got national things now. So, for example, there's Operation Viper is what it's called locally. I think that's the main, like, program that operates locally.
Right.
But I found out that there's like Avon and Somerset Police, Devon and Cornwall, Dorset, Gloucestershire and Wiltshire all combine together, share information and knowledge when they're doing raids and stuff like that.
That's good. Good. That's positive.
You know, so yeah, between July 2024 and March 25, I found out that 2,063 lines were closed, 5,316 people arrested, 1,420 line holders were charged. So line holders were people who were controlling the mobile phones, the burner phones.
Right.
Were charged with running the lines.
Okay.
And there were over 3,000 safeguarding referrals. So that was young people that were being groomed and vulnerable.
Right.
And that was vulnerable adults who were being cuckooed.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Yeah. So something's being done, Dom, isn't it? Something's being done.
Yeah.
Which is the positive thing.
Correct.
What support services are available for those affected by county lines, and how can individuals or families access them?
Yeah,
you mentioned a few there, but...
Yeah, we went through a few there, but again, we also touched on the fact that some people are quite suspect and wary of statutory services, and what I mean by that is like council services, social care, police, people like that. So that's where I think that charities, sorry, I'm just trying to find some of the charities that I found out about. That's where charities and community groups can have a real positive impact.
As opposed to going direct to the police.
First point of contact. You know, There's a guy I know who runs a thing called Wingman Mentors in Luton, a guy called Cy Philly, used to be like a rapper and worked within local authority, but felt he was going to be more effective setting his own thing up. So he's done some incredible work around Luton. People should go and check him out.
Right.
And one of the things he did was launch a campaign to get funding for defibrillator, not defibrillators, like I can't remember what they're called now, but like knife. If kids get, I can't remember what it's called, man. I knew I was going to forget. But it's like stations where you can go to get emergency medical care to stop bleeding.
Oh, okay.
And stuff like that.
Right.
He's done brilliant work and educate people on training young children. If your mate gets stabbed, how do you stop the flow of blood and things like that?
Brilliant.
So there's brilliant people like him out there doing work. You've got organisations like the St Giles Trust.
Right.
They do a lot of work locally and nationally.
Yeah.
You've got in Dorset, you've got one called the Escape Line, someone we probably need to reach out to come in and maybe chat about what their services are specifically. But they're called the Escape Line in Dorset.
Right.
And again, I think if people look locally, they will find, pockets. There's more stuff springing up.
Yeah.
There's lots of mums who went through tragic, horrific things with their sons getting stabbed or killed as a result of county lines, because the rise in knife crime and county lines is inextricably linked, without a doubt. So knife crime is another subject. There's a great charity called Changes Are Made that was set up as well, that isn't directly linked to county lines, but was set up as a result of a parent and a grandparent losing a child locally through knife crime,
Right.
So a lot of these charities are linked. You've got the Ben Kinsella Trust, you've got Catch 22.
Right.
There's lots out there if people take the time to, again,
to do the research.
And
get that information.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What advice would you give to someone, Dom, who suspects a friend or family member is being exploited by county line gangs? What advice would you give to them?
Man, it's really difficult and challenging because we already talked about the pressure, the fear of violence, reprisal, intimidation.
Right.
That these gangs will put on people.
Right.
With no care of services or police or anything, because they can operate a lot quicker than police and social care and social services, etc. can.
Unfortunately.
So a lot of families don't have the trust that things are going to happen quick enough.
Right.
But you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You've got to start somewhere. So again, I would go back to those charities. I would look at things like the NSPCC.
Right.
I would, get in touch with the local police. Reach out to organisations that you can trust. Speak to the school that you're at.
Right.
Things like that, really. But unfortunately, it's very rarely that you're just going to get scooped up out of it and everything's going to be all right straight away.
Right.
Wrong of me to say that. But families do get relocated.
Right.
I know that's something that happens, but you can imagine how long that might take to occur.
Yeah.
But sometimes that is what it is. Right.
But the paradox of that is you can understand why people don't go and report all this because of the minefield of, do you know what's going to happen? And, how long is it going to take and everything?
Yeah.
And as a result, what's the point then?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what would you say to those people who said that to you, Dom? Who said, do you know, what's the point, Dom? Do you know what I mean? I've got this, I've got these barriers up and all that. What, I might as well just keep my mouth shut. What would you say to that person in that situation?
Man, anything I can say is going to sound patronising because they're in the reality of that world, mate.
Right.
But
it wouldn't sound patronising. It wouldn't sound patronising because you're the real deal. So, you know what I mean? You'd be telling them, you'd be giving them some information, and even though it might not fall right on the person, you'd be giving them that information. And so there's probably people out there probably thinking, well, what would Dom do? What would Irwin do? Or what would you say to that person in that moment? Do you know what I mean?
I guess I'd say, well, it can always get worse. It's a really hard one, mate, because I know people who've been in that situation,
right,
and they've been let down by services.
Right.
But I also know other people who've been supported by services and have found a way out, right?
Right. Okay.
So if you don't put some trust in somebody,
right,
to give you support.
Yeah.
If you don't understand, it's going to be really uncomfortable. It's going to be really challenging.
Yeah.
But is it going to be better than what you've got? You know, if it means relocating, that is a massive thing for somebody to consider doing.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a whole new start again.
Yes. Right.
But hopefully, I'm hopeful that because organisations are now working better in unison across the country, that when people move, you know, they've got that support straight away from those organisations, that those police, social services, charities, whoever, have linked up to make sure that family, whoever has to move, you know, are going to have that support in place when they get there.
Right.
Not just get the feeling of
isolation.
Dumped.
Yes.
There you go.
Right.
We've solved the problem. You ain't on your doorstep anymore. There you go. See you later.
Right. Yeah. That's not going to work, is it?
But again, you got to be brave, and you've got to believe there's a brighter future, and you can restart and go again.
Right. Right. That belief, that faith.
Yeah. Keep the faith. You know, all those little phrases that we use
off the cuff,
mate,
but are really powerful in reality, aren't they?
Because change is possible.
Yeah.
Change is possible. Again, those people from Vita Nova.
Yeah.
You know, they all had to make massive choices and changes. But for some of them it works and they get a new start. You know, that lad I supported and worked with, he put his faith in me and going to visit new places and try new things out.
Right.
He put his faith in his parents that they were going to stay clean, that they were, you know, so parents have got to do their bit as well.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I'll be honest about that.
Yeah.
Do not expect the services and everyone to sort it all out for you.
Right.
You've got to be honest and open and upfront with services as well.
Right. Right.
And you've got to do what they ask of you.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's
not going to work, is it? It's not going to work.
No.
I remember back in the day when people used to put a lot of focus on education, and I'm not saying education is crap, but in the sense of, well, all you need to do, Johnny, is go to school and you'll be all right. Mm-hmm. No, education starts at home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The school just embellishes it.
Yeah.
So you're right in terms of, you know, the parents have got to really work closely.
Yeah. Go on parenting courses. You know how to do your own work on yourself.
Right.
What are my triggers?
Right.
How do I parent?
Yes.
You know, have I got an honest, open communication with my child, or do I just tell them what to do all the time?
I'm always
shouting.
I
actually listen to them?
There you go. Right. Are they listening to me? Do you know what I mean? Vice versa. So all that kind of stuff. It's doing the work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's doing the work.
Yeah.
So, cool. Just one more question I've got, Dom. Flying through it, man. Well done. How can listeners of Resonate with Irwin Edgehill get involved in raising awareness or supporting efforts to tackle county lines? So
I think you can be a bit more vigilant.
Right.
Again, you can go online and you can go onto ChatGPT and you can type in, you know, how do I spot drug dealing in my community?
Right.
For example.
Yeah.
You could go out and volunteer your time with sports clubs. If you've got talent in music, art, things like that, you could give your time. You know, we used that phrase last time, it takes a village to raise a child. We're all in this together, right?
Right.
The impact of county lines is widespread. It's not just that family, that child.
Yeah.
It spreads into the community. It's happening to middle class kids. It's happening to upper class kids. It's happening to girls. You know, in fact, there's evidence that more girls are getting involved and being used as honey traps, you know, or they're getting exploited through sexual grooming.
So for those who don't understand that abbreviation, honey trap.
So honey trap will be like in that thing we watched, the wasp nest.
Right.
That girl was used as a honey trap.
Okay.
She was used to, you know, that lad was insecure, and they used that girl to try and pretend to be his girlfriend.
Right.
To hook him in.
Pretend to like him and everything.
Or
and care about
they might, a gang may get the girl involved and say, right, we know this guy's got loads of drugs at his house, and we're going to go rob it. So you're going to go out and meet him in a nightclub. We'll give you money. We'll give you drugs. You know, and you're going to set it up and then ring us and let us know when you're at his house, and we're going to come and rob his drugs.
Right. Honey trap. Right.
Mm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's, you know, different tools and tactics. You know, we're talking billions of pounds in the industry here, right? In the drug industry overall.
Yeah.
So there's people are going to try and do whatever they can to manipulate and keep the money coming in, right?
Yeah.
So people can do that. They can get involved. Yeah.
That's the main thing. Getting involved.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Don't be passive.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to email the police if you see stuff going on.
Right.
Police resources are stretched. One thing I've learned is that through chatting with the police, again, changing my attitude towards the police, right?
Right. Yeah.
Has been a thing.
Yeah.
And listening to the police and saying, don't think because you've seen someone dealing. I mean, I see these lads near where I live all the time in the local park on these e-bikes, zupping across the park.
Right.
Everyone can see what they're up to. The police, it's very difficult for police to. They don't want to get that one lad because he's probably in. They need to build a case.
Right.
There's a lot of resources used to get in 6 police forces together to go and do raids. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So they need a lot of evidence, repeat evidence of at this time I saw that. At this time I saw that. So it's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Take 5 minutes to go and report it online.
Right.
That's one of the things you can do.
Yeah.
If you see children that should be at school hanging around with older people and looking a bit shady, if your spider sense is tingling,
right, I'm
not going to tell people go up and say why aren't you in school,
right.
I'm just saying be aware.
Yeah.
Don't start taking pictures of bloody kids either. Right. Be careful, protect yourself.
Yes.
But if you keep seeing the same kid in the same spot,
right,
and you're thinking why isn't he at school,
or why is she not at school,
or she at school, sorry,
right.
Yeah. There may be other reasons that someone else can explore.
Yeah. So where would you go then with that information?
I would probably go and contact the social care team.
Right.
Again, look at your local services and agencies and, send an email, make a phone call.
Right.
Don't expect things to happen overnight, though, is what I'd say, because they can't. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
They got to build up a picture to invest the resources to go and...
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because with a lot of people, I believe they would think, if I go and report it and it doesn't happen, right, I'm not doing that again.
I hear that time and time again.
Is that right?
Time and time again.
What's the point in doing
What's
it?
the point? I've been to the police, they were useless. You see it all the time on Facebook.
Right.
On Dorset police posts. What's the point? I reported it. I get that. I hear that. It is frustrating. I feel frustrated.
Yeah.
In my local community when I saw it going on.
Yeah. Right.
I would start taking photos from my window.
Right.
Distance, record a little bit of video.
Right.
Send it in.
Yeah.
You can be anonymous as well. You can go to Crime Stoppers. You don't always... A lot of people have fear. Well, if it goes to court and they see these images, someone's going to know it's my house. I get that. It's terrifying.
Yes. Yeah.
But we can all do a little bit to make our community safer.
Yeah.
To protect our vulnerable young people.
Mm. And vulnerable older people
and
as well.
Vulnerable, yes. So again, if you're living in flats and all of a sudden there's a lot of increased footfall, you're hearing the door slamming all the time and shouting, or different people coming in, and thinking, well, that's a bit weird. Why are they hanging out with them?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Why is there teenagers around this flat all day?
Right.
And there's a guy who lives there with special educational needs, for example.
Yeah.
So be aware, be wary.
Yeah.
Be curious.
Yeah, but don't be passive with it.
Don't be passive is a good word, but don't, please keep yourself safe.
Right.
Don't be going into no vigilante Edward Woodward, for those old enough to know him, the Equaliser. Don't be taking things into your own hands.
Right.
Pass it on to the relevant people.
Yeah.
But you can get involved through volunteering. I really think that's a very powerful way to help out.
Right.
Pass on your knowledge and skills to young people. Show them that you care.
Right. Yeah.
Things like that.
You want to make a difference. Cool. Just to bring this thing down for landing, Dom, as we always do. Time's just flown by again. Phenomenal, as always. Anything else that you want to say direct to that camera?
Not necessarily. Just, again, I don't want people to be over-worried. I don't want fear to be the prominent thing that people take away from this. I want people to take away hope, faith, change is possible. Always be on the front foot, be thankful for what you've got, have some gratitude for your life, and know that we can all make a little bit more of a difference, I guess, is my kind of message. But it is real. It does impact us. It could happen to anyone. any child,
Right.
that's out there.
Yeah.
Spend more time with your kids.
Right. Right.
Make a bit of effort to show interest in them, especially in the teenage years, and get the knowledge that's out there. What are the signs I should be looking out for? Do your work.
Right. Yeah. That's key. That's key. Right. Well, that's it from me, Dom.
Cheers.
What I will say is, please like, subscribe, and share this information as you did on the previous one. It was absolutely phenomenal. And again, as in the previous one, if you've got any comments to make in relation to what Dom said, just put them in the chat facility and he'll gladly answer them. Or if you can't, we'll signpost you on to somebody else.
Yeah, signposting's a key thing as well. Key word, yeah.
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
And if you are watching this and this is going on in your life, please don't suffer in silence. Support and help is out there.
Indeed. That's it from me.
Nice one, thank you.